I really didn't want this to be the first video on my channel. Like, I wanted my first video to be about the rampant racism in the Genshin Impact community. And I really didn't want to touch the Creepshow art situation because I really don't have anything productive or constructive to add. But I see Just a Robot is trying to spin a new narrative and I refuse to let that happen. Like, even if I'm talking to the void, like, I need to get my personal opinion out. But let me slow down. What the heck am I talking about? It all started with Emily Artful's video about the alleged abuse and harassment she's faced from Creepshow Art and her partner Anthony. If you somehow found my obscure video, then you're already caught up with that situation, so I'm not going to really waste my time recapping. All I will say about that video is that I 100% believe Emily and I admire her so much for her strength. Anyway, after watching that video, I scrolled through the comment section to read everyone's thoughts. A vast majority of the comments are applauding Emily for her bravery, expressing sympathy for the trauma she endured, condemning Anthony and Creepshow for the literal demons they are, etc, etc. But as I kept scrolling, I came across a comment from one Just a Robot. The comment reads, "Creepshow art hurt me and friends of mine for almost nothing. The sad thing is, even when she was hurting my friends, they defended her because she helped them out in the past and they didn't want to believe it." Now, the issue I took with this comment was the first section, Creepshow art hurt me. Now, this can be interpreted as Creepshow art hurt me because she hurt my friends, and this could very well be true. However, if you read the comment thread, it's very clear that he's referring to when Creepshow art called him a racist. Someone replied to this comment saying, "I found it funny that even though all the accusations about you being racist were proven to be false, Creepshow still controlled the false narrative that you were in her second Peaches video. Even though all those accusations have already been proven false. What an absolute clown. I'm sorry for what you've been through, man. And again, I'm sorry for believing that you were racist in the first place. I wish only the best for you." I replied to his blatant lie saying, "To be fair, I didn't disprove them until after, but just stop and a lot of others did." Someone else replied, "Considering you openly admit to using racial slurs, I don't feel that bad for you given the racism. It shouldn't happen to anyone, but you're not a great person yourself." And Just a Robot, the man everyone swears has grown and changed, responded, "It's not racist if you don't call anyone that, and everyone does it. Would you rather have me lie about doing it?" In that moment, the number of replies made sense, and I felt like an idiot for ever giving this man the benefit of the doubt. Despite all the awful responses, despite all the non-apologies, despite him doubling down on everything in the Prismate Luke video, I still went against my better judgment and give this man the benefit of the doubt. I even commented on his response video to Omnia's thumbnail apology, explaining what a damn apology is, because he was upset that people rightfully didn't accept his own. Despite my black intuition telling me that this man's a racist who has learned literally nothing, I still want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I like seeing the best people, you know? But the ancestors have never steered me wrong, bro. Like, I purposely took the wrong turn and now I have egg on my face. Creepshow art hurt me and my friends for almost nothing. If this isn't revisionist history, I don't know what is. Let's make something clear. Creepshow art is an awful person who has victimized a lot of people in various ways. You, sir, are not one of them. I know a lot has happened recently, so let's go down memory lane. Kai and Omnia criticized Toby. This then started Toby drama in which the community were being microaggressive and overly critical towards Kai and Omnia. There was some back and forth for a while, but the drama died. You, Common, and Fuchsia Brothers decided to revive the Toby drama and that now removed hit piece against the two of them. The hit piece in question included things like this.
This video starts off with a message saying, "Please don't attack anyone mentioned in this video." But looking at Harsh's video, it got a ton of dislikes and some of the worst hate comments I have ever seen.
Wait. What did those comments say? I don't like how you're telling a black person how to feel about this. Telling a black person not to open the can of worms on racial stuff is kind of sus, not gonna lie. Yeah, maybe don't undermine the racial experiences of two black people next time. As a black person, I have to deal with what you call the can of worms every day. Don't comment on racial issues you don't know or care about. Thanks. This can of worms is the life Anya, Kai, and I have to live every day as black people. Comment under their most recent community post submitting an apology, I think, when it's due. These are hate comments to you? Not only hate comments, but they're the worst hate comments you've ever seen. Do you mean worse as in the quality of the comments or worse as in the level of how hateful they are? Because these comments are neither. These are people who are upset with what Harsh had to say about race. They didn't attack her race, her appearance, her drawing skills, or anything. They didn't even attack her. They just vented their frustration with the video and the comments she made. A lot of the top comments on that video are actually real, rational criticisms.
You're a white woman. Who are you to say that? That can of worms is open for me and Omnia both, every day of our lives as black people. If that BLM in your Twitter name meant anything, you would know how foolish it is to say this.
Who are you, as a white woman, to say this? Shut the fuck up, bro. That is actually racist.
I don't agree with a lot of this video, but I'm always open to different perspectives being out there. I appreciate your take on this, even if we stand on opposite sides.
First thing I want to mention is I typed out a very lengthy reply to Jar's video detailing a bulk of my thoughts when I first saw his video, and it's still up in the comment section if you want to read it for yourself. It's quite long and detailed, but it encompasses a lot of my thoughts on the entire video and the points they presented. The most interesting thing about my comment though is that Jar decided to respond, and as expected, it wasn't great. Before we even break it down, I just want to let you know he repeats himself a couple times in his response and it's a little bit confusing, but I'll try my best to explain what he's referring to. Let's get into it together.
Yes, that is what she said.
He's referring to harsh opinions here.
I played the clip in the video. Well, a black man doesn't really need to speak about race if he really doesn't want to, and I don't see that as a bad thing.
Okay, but Kai is a black man who wants to speak on race. So harsh opinions telling him that the race comments were a quote-unquote whole other can of worms that didn't need to be fucking opened is essentially saying that Kai shouldn't speak on race despite it affecting him every single day of his life. So yeah, it is a bad thing.
No, she said, I don't want to get into the topic of race comments. Here's a timestamp you can clearly hear her say I and not Kai. If anything, you guys are telling her as a non-black person how to feel about race. When people are falsely accusing someone of something, yeah, it's a hate comment. Also, you are actually putting words in her mouth and taking what she said as a whole other thing entirely. Here is what she actually said. I really don't want to get into the topic of the race comments because that's a whole other can of worms that didn't need to be fucking opened. I don't understand how that doesn't tell you that she didn't want to talk about it, but keep cutting her out of context despite crying wolf about people cutting you out of context.
Thing is, I started my comment off by quoting the last half of what Harsh said, which I show right here. She still said that the race comments was a whole other can of worms that didn't need to be fucking opened. To a black man whose race is a can of worms that he unfortunately doesn't have the privilege to simply dismiss and leave unopened like y'all can.
What does our race have to do with anything? You racist black woman? And you didn't mention the trans woman.
He's speaking about Fuchsia.
Are you saying trans people aren't real people? Just kidding with that last part, but do you see how easy it is to use identity politics? I can do it too.
Did you just call me a racist black woman? I don't really have the energy to unpack that sentence, but Lord have mercy, am I being tested right now?
I'm just reading his comment in a funny voice to be entertaining. I'm not trying to make him look stupid or anything. You really like projecting, don't you?
No one, and I mean no one, was entertained by you reading Kai's comment in the slowest and most condescending way possible. I can guarantee you not a single soul. Also, would you mind explaining why you decided to throw in Black SpongeBob while you were reading it? Like, genuinely. What purpose does that serve? Is that supposed to be for entertainment purposes too? Was it supposed to be funny? Was it supposed to get people to laugh about black people? Or like, Kai's black, LOL, Black SpongeBob, you know, like, this is such a funny idea. I don't know, just questions I'd really love answers to, bro.
Because of these things and the entirety of the video, really, people called y'all out in the comment section. People also did some digging on you and found out you have racist past and present, and Thuman called you out on your racism on Twitter. After the backlash, you made a passive-aggressive BS apology, which, fun fact, black people don't have to forgive racism or accept apologies about racism, especially the ones we don't think are genuine, and Prismate Luke released a now removed video calling you out on your racism. After this, you made a horrible now removed response video in which you doubled down on all the racist things you were called out for. Somewhere within that timeline, the Hopeless Peaches drama started, and towards the end of the Hopeless Peaches drama, Creepshow Art made her final video on the situation, of which she, well, let me play your clip.
But then again, she hasn't really done anything for me. In fact, she has called me a super racist in the past.
The fact that so many people want to die on their swords for her is so weird. Like, make a comment, what the fuck, man? You are literally out here saying that Peaches didn't participate in the garbage video you and super racist Jar made, even though she edited the script.
You know, I may have said some racial slurs here and there, but I never called anyone or any group of people it. But here you are, Creepshow, saying that an Asian person has terrible skin for an Asian person. That's clearly directed at someone, and you're a lot more racist than I am. So if I'm a super racist, I guess that would make you a super racist 3.
Slight tangent, but like, bruh, you know both of y'all can be racist at the same time, right? Like, Creepshow being trash doesn't negate that. Do I think she said what she said just to get brownie points? Absolutely. Do I think her observation was wrong? No. Anyway, tangent over, that's the timeline. So let's summarize real quick. The Toby drama happened and died, then Jar and his friends revived it, did offensive things in the video, black people and people of color called him out on it, found out Jar has done a lot worse, and called him out on that too, calling him a racist. Then the white people, such as Creepshow Art, also called him a racist. Unless there's some missing Twitter DMs I'm missing, that's literally it. How is that Creepshow art hurting you, my guy? Like, how is that her hurting you so badly that you felt the need to victimize yourself in Emily's comment section? And I'm not saying all of this to, defend Creepshow art. Like, that's not the point of this at all. The point is to say that Just the Robot is not a victim of Creepshow art. She didn't lie about him. She didn't manipulate him. She didn't bully him. She didn't harass him. She didn't do any of that. The most she did to him personally is repeat what black people were saying. The reason people still think that Just the Robot is racist has nothing to do with Creepshow art and everything to do with Jar himself. For me, it's because of this man's actions, his doubling down on said actions, and his refusal to listen to any black person that doesn't defend him. Hi, Future Me here. I forgot to mention that there's nothing wrong with other black folks thinking Jar isn't racist and giving their opinion on the matter. We are a monolith and that's fine, like I don't take issue with that. What I do take issue with is when they try to police others' feelings or dismiss them entirely, and that's exactly what a lot of his black subscribers like to do. Like, I legit saw one of his black subscribers, assuming he's telling the truth, arguing, well, I'm black and I don't see the issue with Jar using racial slurs, so he can't be racist. I'm sorry. He was arguing, well, I'm black and I don't see the issue with Jar using racial slurs, so he can't be racist. Crap. Okay, I'm good. He was arguing, well, I'm black and I don't see the issue with Jar using racial slurs, so he can't be racist. And like, bro, don't do that. You can still like the man, but don't use your blackness to negate criticism from other black folks. Like, we can agree to disagree, but don't act like we're crazy for not wanting this white man to say nigga, nigger, and coon. Like, come on, bro. The fact that anyone thinks this is even remotely similar to anyone Creepshow is actually affected is ridiculous to me. Anyway, after reading Jar's nonsensical comments, I made the mistake of replying. And I call it a mistake not because I regret what I said, because I meant every word and I have the receipts to back it up. But it was a mistake because it really wasn't the time or the place. Even if it was just 2 comments out of thousands, I still participated in the derailment of Emily's story, and for that I apologize. Emily's never gonna see this, but I still need to say this in video form. Emily, I'm sorry for taking the focus off your trauma. I can't imagine how terrifying it must have been to come forward, and I really shouldn't have derailed your comment section in any way, shape, or form. I should have just kept what I said in my video and kept it pushing. I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. Now let's get into my response comment. Just the Robot. Bro, I keep trying to give you leeway, but you make it impossible. You built your channel off of dismissing minority, mostly black, voices and concerns, as well as blatant racism. 1. You used a black avatar to mock black people, aka Blackface, and lied about it. And no, the avatar from your Just a Kang video is entirely separate from your Professor Dreadlocks one.
Just a Kang! I decided to reveal my true colors. I, Just a Robot, am in fact black. Now I know what you're thinking, but you're a robot. How can you be black? Well, the answer is very simple. You see, you don't have to be black, because black people are magic. And just because you have dark skin, it doesn't make you black. If you're black and you disagree with anything I say in this video, then you are just a dark-skinned white devil. Now these undeniable black facts, I got them from Crown T.
Black man, go out, get a gun, and go kill a race soldier. Now, you may be saying that this is some pretty nasty fear-mongering, but you would be wrong. The race war is the only viable solution to our problems, because white people, you can't see them as anything but a collective, and you can't see them as anything but white, and most definitely not as individual.
Mr. Medicare.
Not Jacob, who's Jacob? The so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, and the similar Indians.
That is some compelling evidence. You heard him. Native Americans, Latinos, and blacks are the real Jews.
And of course, my lord and master, Tyreek Masheed.
Hey, flex up in this motherfucking nickel. Can't flex up in this motherfucking nickel.
Links to all their videos will be down below, and I want every single one of you white devils to watch them. Now, some of you white devils with melanin deficiency might be wondering, if the black race is so superior in every single way, then how did they lose their history and technology? Well, the answer is simple. Cannibalism.
Cannibalism was going on in Europe big time. There's a lot of evidence showing the cannibalism that was going on in Europe. As a matter of fact, this whole vampire phenomenon that we have is rooted in the cannibalism that was going on in Europe.
That's right. In order to gain our black power, you white vampires had to eat us. And that black avatar you saw, that's not what I look like. My artist just took a guess as to what I looked like and drew that. I was holding on to it, and I didn't really know what to do with it until today.
2. You harassed black reaction channels for years and attacked one for criticizing iDubbbz's usage of the N-word.
Now, the reason why I wanted to make this song is not for clout or any of that. There's nothing to gain from this man because his fans is nothing but racist white people and coon-ass niggas.
So 100% of his fan base is either black or white, so there's no Asians or Latinos who watch him. Interesting, I did not know that. Also, I'm so sorry that every single black guy doesn't share a hive mind, and they have thoughts and opinions that differ from your own. By the way, reaction channels promote white supremacy, so if you're a black guy and you make reaction videos, then you're an Uncle Tom, and you're also a meanie stinky doo-doo face.
But look at this, man. I'm a real authentic YouTuber. I can't hold anything back. I do not fuck with this dude. I can't fuck with no white dude running around on the internet saying the shit cool.
Well, what's the context? Did he say it in a song? Did he call someone it? Or did he just say it? Why is it bad when only white people say it? If he was Asian, would it be okay? If he was black, I know it certainly would be okay. The only time I remember him saying it was when he said, but even then, that was to make fun of a white girl.
You know what I'm saying? That shit is not cool, bro. You're not gonna catch us running around on the internet talking about, you know...
Cracker Jack? You mean those bags of popcorn covered in caramel? I've never heard that used as an insult. I've heard cracker, but not Cracker Jack. By the way, why do so many racist black people act like white people are offended by the word cracker? I have never seen a white person ever be offended by the word cracker.
Yeah, talk about a whole bunch of racist shit. Talk about we're glad all the Jews got burned and all that.
I'm gonna take that part out of context and put it in the beginning of the video. But in all seriousness, that's not a word. That's a statement. Saying the N-word is not the same as saying I wish all black people would die. Oh no, someone is going to take what I just said there out of context.
You know, because he's just pretty much just saying it's words. Okay, go walk up to someone and say, I'm glad 9/11 happened. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, once again, that's a statement. And second, I actually went outside and said that to a few people. You guys don't have to take my word for it, but you can try it yourself. Worst case scenario is you're going to get in an argument.
If y'all got such a problem with words, what about the motherfuckers who's taking a kneel during the national anthem?
Oh, that? Well, I don't care about that. Trump does, but I don't. If I was in Trump's shoes, I would say things like, yeah, check me out, I'm king. These people are kneeling to me.
I'm sick and tired of you iDubbbz fans. I reacted to RiceGum's video over on my reaction channel.
Yeah, I saw that video, and you were mocking iDubbbz and his fan base. Are you surprised that they got mad about that? Also, the video came across as you just joining RiceGum just because he had a cool rap and no other reason.
Right. Not even just going to him, they're going to people that mess with him tough. Being in their comments and tweeting them shit like that. Like,
right.
That shit ain't cool.
These motherfuckers went to my thumbnail maker who has nothing to do about this shit. They don't know if my thumbnail maker is an iDubbbz fan or not. And he could be, I'm not sure.
Oh, so your thumbnail maker is either a racist white person or a coon ass, according to you.
And then the thing is with these racist people, what I don't understand is they're trying to prove to me that their iDubbbz is not racist by acting racist. Does that make sense to you? No. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds to me like you're talking about two different types of iDubbbz fans. I could check the comments and see for myself, but yeah, you disabled them.
I'm glad slavery happened, but iDubbbz is not racist.
Okay, how about this? I'm glad 9/11 happened, but Snoop Dogg is not a terrorist. How the fuck is me saying I'm glad 9/11 happened proves that Snoop Dogg is a terrorist? It doesn't. Your logic is stupid.
3. You apologize for using that hard R, yet admitted you would continue to use the N-word if your black friends were okay with it.
And I understand that word does have history, so I don't call black people that word. Unless, of course, they're cool with me using the GA with them.
4. You dismiss the existence of cultural appropriation, the lack of minority representation in video games, and criticism of the Confederate flag.
Sometimes they're shrouded in language like pimps and hoes party.
Pimps and hoes? Really? First of all, if being a pimp or a hoe is part of your culture, it's really nothing to be proud of. Second, pimps and hoes are not really a part of a certain culture. It's more of a profession thing. And before someone says that most pimps are black, well, guess what? Most astronauts are white. So by that logic, no one but white people can throw a space-themed party. You see how that sounds? Every single person should be able to throw whatever themed party they want. I was just in New York City. It was a city full of different people with different cultures and different backgrounds. They interacted and celebrated different cultures. The people who say, stop appropriating my culture, are the real racists.
But guess what? We all realize that what you actually mean is come dressed as the most offensive stereotypes of black people, Asians, Latinos, Native Americans, Indians, etc. that you can muster.
Or maybe they just want to celebrate a different culture. Have you ever thought of that?
Or when you hijack part of a culture for personal use without permission, not out of respect or tribute, but because, oh my god, Native American headdresses are so cute.
So people have to get permission? From who? Let's say a bunch of white people want to throw a Mexican-themed party. Do they get the permission from one Mexican, the Mexican government, or do they have to make a petition that only Mexicans can sign? Just so you know, every single person has my permission to throw a robot-themed party. Gentrification is not a plot by white people to destroy black people. Gentrification doesn't just affect poor black people. It affects poor people in general. It just so happens that a lot of terrible neighborhoods tend to be poor black neighborhoods. And if the government kept them around, it would be damaging to the economy. I'm really getting sick and tired of people who think just because they're a certain race means they automatically know more about a certain culture. Now, this is purely anecdotal, but as some of you might know, I was made in America. I was talking about the American-Mexican War, and this girl comes in, and she claims she knows more about it than me because, get this, she's part Mexican. Well, guess what? I was made in America. You know, the country that actually won the war.
Now you wait, it don't mean none of that white supremacy.
Really? In 1863, an earlier version of the flag had a white background, which the designer said represented, and I quote, the supremacy of the white man.
Good job. You actually got something right for once.
It's about our historical legacy.
Yeah. No.
Yes it is.
The racist man who murdered 9 black people in a church stood with this flag and a photo celebrating the racism it stood for.
I'm really getting sick of people saying things like that. Just because a Boy Scout shot up a school, it doesn't mean they're all like that. What that man did was very wrong. However, you can't judge a whole group of people just because of one man's actions. Just because black people tend to be in prison more often than white people, it does not mean we should treat them any differently.
All three of the examples listed include complex subject matter that need their own individual videos basically debunking them, so I'll probably work on that sometime in the future. I couldn't include the video game one because the whole video is just Jar being loud and wrong, and well, that's true for all his content, but like with this one it's more difficult because of the subject matter. It includes like charts and references and all that mess, so yeah, I'm gonna be making a video on that soon. 5. You played the Oppression Olympics with interracial and gay couples in the Steven Universe PSA video, denied that you did, and purposely left out the section where you admitted to telling your black trainer that gay people have it worse.
There's a ton of anti-LGBT stuff in the black community that we almost never talk about. I've even met a few black guys who believe that the LGBT community is white nationalism. I guess I'm just a little bothered about this because I recently discovered my personal trainer is a black Israelite, and we got into an argument about who had more rights, gay people or black people. He told me that any gay slur would be considered a hate crime. And you can say whatever you want to a black person, even the N-word, and nothing bad will happen to you. Which I completely disagree with. I mean, way more people have been canceled for using the N-word than the British term for a cigarette. We had a black president, or at least a half-black president. As far as I know, we haven't had a gay president, at least an openly gay president. Pete Buttigieg didn't even come close to winning. As someone who's neither gay or black, I'm just gonna say I think gay people have it worse in America. At least from what I've seen.
6. You attacked Milo Stewart for trying to discuss the intersectionality of sexuality and race, and allowed your collab partner to use multiple slurs in that video.
I have seen so many YouTubers talking about Black Lives Matter this summer.
I wonder why that is.
With topics like, why is it important, and why do we say Black Lives Matter instead of All Lives Matter?
Well, the main reason is because Black Lives Matter hates white people and are racist towards white people, so to them, their lives don't matter to the Black Lives Matter movement. That's why you don't say all lives matter. Because basically now, all lives matter is the same equivalent to saying kill all the niggers, chinks, and spicks.
So I decided that I wanted to respond to arguments that Black Lives Matter is anti-LGBT.
And I'm guessing you're not going to show any clips from any videos talking about this subject to make it easier to strawman, right?
And don't worry, we won't do the work for you. You should have done this, but we should have known that you will never do that. So we'll show it eventually.
A lot of people seem to think that Black Lives Matter pushes their activism into spaces where it is neither relevant nor necessary. However, I believe that we can't really have a conversation about LGBT rights without addressing race.
Well, I think you could very easily talk about LGBT issues without addressing race. I'm not going to lie, there are parallels. However, to say you can't talk about one without talking about the other is just ridiculous.
It's not like they're conjoined at the hip. They're two issues. They just share two people.
And we can't talk about police brutality without talking about LGBT rights.
Two men should have the right to get married just like a man and a woman. There, I just talked about LGBT rights without talking about police brutality. It's actually quite easy.
When you hit the nail on the head just right, folks. I agree with Jar here. If you guys want to get married and be miserable like the rest of us, go right ahead. Won't stop you. Mostly because I do not care.
After all, a 2013 report from the National Coalition of Anti-Violence Programs details that 67% of the victims of anti-LGBT homicides are transgender women of color.
Okay, first of all, what do you mean by people of color? Do you mean black people or just people who aren't white? And second, what does this have to do with police brutality? I will agree, Milo, that there are many similarities between homophobia and racism. However, that doesn't mean you can't talk about one without talking about the other. Cake and ice cream both taste good. However, you can very easily talk about cake without bringing up ice cream.
And also, if we're really going to try and go back in time, how about you just call them the coloreds, like the old days? We all know you want segregation, just call them the coloreds. Also, now I want some cake and ice cream. God damn you, Jar.
The most recent of which was the murder of Raylan Thomas, who was killed on August 10th. There's this obvious connection between anti-LGBT attitudes and racism that just can't be ignored.
There is no connection. And let me bring up that one woman you brought up without telling her story. She was shot twice and then beaten to death while her mother did nothing to stop the attack from her mother's now ex-boyfriend. Now people are throwing out labels like he was transphobic, he was racist, but no one even knows his motivation for said attack, but didn't stop them for labeling this as a hate crime. Because if 2 more transgendered women died before she did, they think they're all connected. In fact, on a lighter note for you, she was only the 19th. That's way less than cisgender people die a year.
Most often, when people accuse the Black Lives Matter movement of being anti-LGBT, they talk about this video of a Latina woman speaking at a vigil for Pulse victims, and the actions of groups like Black Lives Matter Toronto, which protested the Toronto Pride Parade. So I'm going to talk about those. Tiffany, the Latina woman from the Pulse vigil video, was invited on stage to read the names of the victims, and was the first one at the event to mention the fact that most of the victims were Latinx.
Why should their race matter? The shooter didn't kill them because of their race. If the shooter didn't care about their race, then neither should I.
Because we all know if you don't see color and do not base people on the color of their skin, then you are a racist.
Tiffany started her speech out by saying, I was really nervous to get up here because there's a lot of white people in the crowd.
Yeah, that's blatantly racist. It's not okay to make judgments about any group of people based on the color of their skin. And it's not okay to be racist no matter what your skin color is. I don't get how you don't understand that.
It went on to say, I thought I'd just take the moment to just list out some facts that many of you probably don't know because you're white.
That's totally not racist.
Although the part where she talks about the facts that she wanted to share seems to have been edited out, or maybe she was just interrupted so she didn't get to say those parts. Either way, it's not in the video.
First of all, Milo, how do you know what she was going to say was fact? It really doesn't matter what she was going to say. Have you ever heard of scientific racism? That was treated as fact, but it didn't make it any less bigoted.
But I could probably tell you what she would say. She would probably say white supremacy, the patriarchy, black people are always down, Latinx people of color are always oppressed, and you white people need to give me money and reparations or whatever the fuck, because you're the reason why this has happened.
Hi, so I just realized the context as to what Milo was talking about and why they're correct is missing. So I'm going to read this small snippet from this Vox article because I believe it summarizes everything perfectly. The article is Whitewashing the Orlando Shooting Victims Only Makes LGBTQ People of Color More Vulnerable to Violence by Michelle Garcia. 90% of the 49 people killed were Latino or Latino descent, specifically 23 victims were Puerto Rican, according to New York Times. Yet when it came time for politicians to extend their thoughts and prayers to the victims, many of them, including Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Paul Ryan, glossed over the fact that the victims were part of these marginalized groups. Representative Pete Sessions argued it was a young person's nightclub, I'm told, and there were some LGBTQ people there, but it was mostly Latinos, as though LGBTQ people could not also be Latino. But the Times also reported that LGBTQ people are the most likely group to be attacked when compared individually with racial and religious groups. Overall, 1/5 of hate crimes tracked by the FBI are carried out on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. Half of all hate crimes are due to race, with all races combined. Multiple bias incidents, though, are mentioned in the report at less than 1% and not broken down much further. It's this heightened vulnerability to violence, both racially and based on sexual orientation and gender identity, that makes it all the more important to avoid whitewashing the victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting. It's also key to remember that many people of color are, in fact, LGBTQ, even if the data used to track such violence often misses this point. Ignoring this only continues a vicious cycle. Even with the evolving visibility of LGBTQ people on the whole, LGBTQ still translates to many people as white, gay, and male. Perhaps that's because many of the organizations and media centered on LGBTQ people for so long have been run by and focused on white gay men, and because of that, the unique needs of LGBTQ people of color are then ignored, which continues a disproportionate cycle of targeted violence. Being bisexual, lesbian, gay, or sexually queer in a heterosexist society means you'll be subject to heterosexist violence. Being female, feminist, transgender, or genderqueer means you'll be subject to sexist, misogynistic, or patriarchal violence. Being a person of color means you'll be the subject of white supremacist violence. Being two or more of those things compounds the violence you experience and the reasons you're experiencing it. It also makes it more difficult to feel some semblance of safety, because you could be targeted for one of those identities in a space that's set up to be safe for people with another one of those identities. So yeah, I hope with that added context you can understand why what was said in that clip was so disgusting and just flat out wrong. Milo Stewart, who I'm pretty sure was still a minor at the time, was just trying to use their privilege as a white person to bring more awareness to this issue, but these two grown men freaking attacked him for it. Anyway, back to my comment. And I don't know where to begin with the BuzzFeed and Trump supporting videos. When confronted with all this and then some, your immediate reaction was to double down, use the I'm not racist, I have black friends / subscribers excuse, and use said black friends / subscribers to dismiss our criticism of you. Even now you're showing that you haven't learned a thing. You wonder why we still perceive you as a racist. Responses like this or why. Creepshow has nothing to do with it. And again, while I do regret posting this in Emily's comment section because it wasn't time and the place, I still stand by everything I said. The priorities of the commentary community truly astonishes me. Like, y'all make video after video over the most mundane crap over DMs or tweets, but you'll let blatant racism slide. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, y'all scream about accountability, holding other people accountable, and allyship, being allies POC, but refuse to check this man. Like, it's I have no words. It's just clownery. That's the only way I can describe it, clownery. Anyway, in conclusion, Creepshow R is a horrible person who victimized and lied about multiple people. but Just Robot's not one of them, and people need to stop acting like he is. But hey, that's just my personal opinion that no one asked for. If you somehow finished this video, thank you so much. I don't know how or why, but thank you. My next video is probably going to be a reaction to Jar's Prismate Luke video, because I'm so sick of this narrative that Jar debunked everything and that he was lied about when that's not the case at all. I'm not sure when it's coming, but it's definitely coming. So yeah, bye.
Bye, bitch.